Hi, I'm Eva Murphy from Electronic Engineering at IT Sligo, and this is my Leaving Cert Maths Grinds channel. I'll regularly add new videos for both higher and ordinary level maths, so make sure you subscribe below and click the bell icon to be notified of new videos. The points P710, Q12 and R114 are the vertices of the triangle shown. This is the 2018 question 2 of paper 2, so coordinate geometry tends to come up on paper 2. The point U, which is here, is the midpoint of PQ, and the point V is the midpoint of PR. Find the coordinates of V, so midpoint. So back we go to our formulas and tables. We are looking for the one that says midpoint, and it's here. So midpoint is equal to halfway between the x points, x1 plus x2 over 2, halfway between the y points, y1 plus y2 over 2. So if it's the midpoint of PR that we're finding, P is 710, R is 11.4, x1, y1, x2, y2. Okay, so you label the points. If you forget, it's here in the log tables. So go back and remind yourself. And you put them into the formula. So the midpoint then, so from here, it's equal to x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. Okay, and it's a point, it's the middle point. So which means there's a comma between, which means I can only do the x coordinate first. So put that into the calculator and you get 7 and 11 is 18 over 2. So I make that to be 9. And then my y midpoint, 10 plus 4 is 14 over 2, which is 7. Okay, so let's have a look at the points. Does that make sense? Well, what's middle way between 7 and 11? Well, yes, it's 9. That's good. What's middle way between 4 and 10? There's 6 of a difference, so add on 3. So that's 7. Yeah, I'm happy. That's my midpoint. That's my coordinates of V. So I'll put V there equal to 9, 7, and I label it as V just in case any other question calls for V down further. And surely the next part does. Show that by using slopes, UV is parallel to QR. Okay, so slopes. So my slope formula, M, where am I pulling this from? I'm done with my midpoint. I am pulling my slope from here. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Okay, so if I'm going to have to find two slopes, the slope of UV and the slopes of QR. So some of the theory that you should know is that if these lines are parallel, then they will have equal slopes. Okay, that's what I'm expecting. And it says show, which means they are parallel, which means if you do not get equal slopes, you've made a mistake. Okay, so I will try and explain to you the wording in the questions so that you kind of use the wording in the question to help you in your exam, such as in this case, when you know that these have to be the same. So let's do UV first. Okay, so I have to write down the point U, which is 4, 6, and V, which is the one I just got up there, 9, 7, and I'm going to label them X1, Y1, X2, Y2, and I'm going to put it in. So M, the slope, is equal to Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Where did I pull all that from? Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Put that into your calculator, hit your fraction button, in it goes. So 7 minus 6 over 9 minus 4. And I'm getting a fifth. Okay, let's do QR then. So Q is the point, where am I, 1, 2, or is the point 11, 4. X1, Y1, X2, Y2. Let's find our slope. So Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. Hit the fraction button, and I do get a fifth. Okay, now you're not done there, because all you've literally done is get the slopes of two lines. You haven't answered their question. It says show by using slopes that the lines are parallel. So your answer is lines have equal slopes. That's maths language for therefore parallel lines, or something to that effect, but something that links how does slopes tell me they're parallel lines. You have to answer that part. Okay, so it does require the odd line of text every now and again. Okay, part C, find the area of a triangle PQR. I'll just go on to a new page for this. So find the area of the triangle PQR. So PQR, so this was very like the 2019 question that also asked for an area. So again, I write down my points. So P is 7, 10. Q is 1, 2. And R is 11, 4. Okay, so I'm going to use this formula here. Half of x1, y2 minus x2, y1. Okay, and 2 points, so we have to do translations, and if that doesn't make sense, go and watch the 2019 question again and see how it's done. Okay, so I'm going to write that formula over here for myself. Because I want to use here for translations. Okay, so just like before, we have to move P to 0, 0. So what do we have to do to the X value? Well, for that one, we'd have to subtract 7 from the X to go from plus 7 down to 0. And from the Y, we have to subtract off 10. Okay, so that's moving one of the vertices to 0, 0, and I've moved P. No reason at all I picked P, only it was the first one there. It may have made much more sense to move Q because it was closer to it. Because you're going to see now I'm going to end up with loads of negative numbers. So I have to move 1, 2 by the same translation here. So take 7 off the X, 10 off the Y, and I have to do the same to the R coordinate, take 7 off the X and 10 off the Y. Okay, so what do I end up with? Well, 1 minus 7 is minus 6, 2 minus 10 is minus 8. So that's my new Q, and then I could call it Q dash if I wanted. And then, or 11 minus 7 is 4, 4 minus 10 is minus 6. Okay, so that's my new OR. So for that particular formula that only has 2 points, x1, y1, x2, and y2, these are my new 2 points. So let's label them x1, y1, x2, y2, and let's sub them in. So the area then is equal to a half of x1 minus 6 by y2, which is minus 6 again, minus x2 by y1. Okay, so a lot of minuses in that. So half of, so into my calculator I'm going minus 6 bracket in brackets, minus 6 again in a bracket, minus, and 4 in a bracket, minus 8 in a bracket. So exactly what I've written here. That's what I've put into my calculator. I'm hitting equals and I am getting 68. So half of 68 then is 34 units squared. Why is it units squared? Well, that's because these are points, so I don't know what units is between the points. I don't know if it's kilometers, I don't know if it's meters, I don't know if it's centimeters, but I don't really mind because whatever they are, the area is 34 units squared. Why squared? Because it's still area. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, so you can see now that came up in 2019 and 2018. So it's an important question to know how to do. So D then, and not so much coordinate geometry, in fact not coordinate geometry at all. It says the point S is the image of the point Q under the translation UV. Find the coordinates of S. So what does that mean? Okay, let me see now if I can copy this. It would be nice to have a little picture over here for ourselves. Okay. So the point S is the image of the point Q under the translation UV. Okay, so whatever that translation is, so how much did I move in the X direction? How much did I move in the Y direction? That's what a translation is. And it says the point S is the image of the point Q. So in other words, start at Q then, move that same distance to, so do that same translation. So move the same amount in the X direction, move the same amount in the Y direction, and tell me where you end up. Now, what I'm expecting is not as far as R because that's a much longer line. QR is a much longer line than UV. So to be able to do that, I need to know, well, how far did I move when I went from U to V? Okay, so U was 4,6. V was the midpoint of PR. What did we get for V? 9,7. Okay, so let's have a look at how much we moved. So when I went from 4 to 9, I moved +5 in the X direction. And that makes sense because I went that way. Okay, and then in the Y direction, I went from 6 to 7, so I went up 1. And again, that makes sense because it's quite a small slanty line. So I haven't gone up that much in the Y direction. If I'd gone from U to P now, I would have gone up much more in the Y direction. Okay, so that's the translation under UV. And then S is the image of the point Q when it has moved by the same amounts. So start with Q then, which was, Q is 1, 2. And what it's saying is apply the same translation to get the point S. So in other words, move by +5 in the X direction, move by +1 in the Y direction, and tell me where you end up. So 1 + 5 is 6, 2 + 1 is 3. So that new point S is 6, 3. That makes sense to me because when I look at OR then, that's out there at 11. So it makes sense that I haven't gone as far as 11 and it's 4 and I haven't gone up as far as 4. I've only got to 3. So it feels good. It feels right. Okay, so S is the point, 6, 3 is your answer.
If you are interested in technology or engineering but are not doing higher level maths, why not consider our Level 7 in Electronic and Computer Engineering? This is a 3-year programme that looks at the design and development of embedded electronic systems. These are the medical devices that keeps us healthy, the consumer devices that keeps us entertained, or the controlled systems that keeps us safe on the road. You can then progress on to the Level 8 in Electronics and Self-Driving Technologies and from there to the Masters.
Check out the link below for more information.